If somebody wants a photograph, that's the easiest thing in the world, because we walk around with cameras in our pockets all day long. Everyone does. So we're very photographic. The pictures that I take are different. They're that thing. I hope that you come to the center of Florence, you're sitting there at the light, you look up, and you're like, oh, I remember that. I remember Mike did that at Cooper's and Goodgin's Garage, and there is, and when you're going by Star Pizza, I want you to look in your window. I want you to see there's people in there. I want you to, there's people in there when you go by the dry cleaners and when you go by the laundromat. When you do those things, I want you to think, Mike did a picture like that. The other day, I was, we're heading home, and we're going over the bridge right at the bottom of Ryan Road where it turns around the corner there, kind of loops back on itself, like Florence Road. And if you stand on that, we live on Ryan Road, so if you, I've gone this way and that way on that bridge, and we've been there for 40 years, so I mean, literally tens of thousands of times over the bridge. And we were going over it, and I said, oh boy, this is it. And she says, what are you talking about? And I says, those houses, look. And I actually stopped, and there was no cars. And I said, look. And she says, look at what? And I said, okay, you know. And I got out, and I'm trying to stall for time here and show you the shot. But I got out and took the shot, and it's special, it really is. Yeah, so. Everyone that's gone by ProBrush knows the bridge. Everyone's gone around that. It's a unique corner in Northampton. It is a stop sign there that most people don't stop at.
Right.
Yeah. But when I say if you just go stand on the bridge and look at those houses, it's a beautiful part of the world. It's, you know, and if my photography creates that moment in the world that we live in,
right.
If somebody turns on their Facebook or whatever, I would really hope they would buy it. And not just because I want to sell my work, but because I want someone to say, when they walk into someone's house or something like that, you got to, and somebody will say, where is that? And somebody will say, that's the bottom of Ryan Road and Florence Road. Yeah. And somebody will say, I've gone over that bridge. They'll say 1,000 times, right? And it's probably more than that.
I know, yeah, it's amazing.
And then they'll say, how did I never see that? My dad was Frank Denno, and Francis, and he was in the Navy. And I remember as a small kid, I was probably 7 and my brother was 9. My brother and I, Mom and Dad, went down to Boston, and he's going to show us the Constitution. That's the oldest continuously, I want to say registered, but what's the word? We're the commissioned, yeah. And we went down there, and there was sailors there, you know, and he explained to him when he was in the Navy, one of his duty stations, whatever, was Boston. And he actually was one of the guys, you know, that keep it. And they used to actually, years ago, sleep on it. I'm understanding they just don't do that anymore. But when he was a young guy, in 19, 20 years old, whatever he was on the Constitution. So it got to be the brotherhood thing. And my brother and I and my mom got to go down into the Constitution. And so I'm sitting here at almost 70, so 60 years ago, and I remember it, and I remember how, it's funny how moments, right? Our life is nothing more than a blur, right? It's high speed, but I remember my dad being happy about it. He wasn't a guy that was thrown to fits of anything, you know, he's pretty one level, but I remember he was really happy to take his family on the Constitution. He thought it was a really big thing, and it was a really big thing for him, and because of that, I've remembered the moment. So.
Interesting. Have you ever photographed that?
No, it's, it's one of the things I want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and it, it's interesting. That's a good question. No, I want to do it, but I'm afraid I'd mess the memory up. Because if I did put my eyes on it, and it wasn't what my 9 or 10-year-old brain remembered,
Yeah.
and I ruined it for me, because as it sits now, it's a golden moment in my
Yeah.
life. And if I do, how easy those things are to mess up.
Right.
But
Interesting.
it's an old memory too, and over the years, it's become polished and enameled to the point where I'm just really happy with it. So I don't know that I want to touch it.
So have you not been back since then? Or?
No.
Really?
No.
I've probably been there like 6 times.
No. I've thought about it, and I literally have that, that conversation we all have. Like,
Yeah.
why don't I? It's childish.
Yeah.
It's childish not to do it. But it's, for me, it's one of the few really nice moments I got with my dad.
Interesting.
And I'm afraid if it just didn't work out. And of course, it's a 60-year-old memory is, I mean, in my mind, it was a beautiful moment, and he was happy, and the whole family was there. So
That's really neat.
I don't know that I want to intrude in it. One thing I found out about taking pictures, and the more you get into something, the more you get into it. With my architectural bent, especially the ones with the people inside the buildings and all that, a lot of people have said very Hopper, right? I've done some things with flowers. I did some things with daffodils one time. They're out again. I did them last year, and they're in season now, so I'll have to do something the next week or so. But they said that's Maplethorpe, right? And then I've done other stuff, and they're like, "Oh, Annie Leibovitz," and I don't know that I have a style. Certainly, me being my age, I would say Rockwell definitely. I love the shots in interior of the diner. Everyone can see the kid sitting on a bar stool with the 2 state cops next to him, and it's one of the famous Rockwell things. And I really am trying to be careful not to say that I have a style, because as soon as you say you have a style, then immediately there's some people that would say, "Oh yeah, I know he does a lot of architectural stuff," and then somebody will say, "Oh yeah, he does a lot of Hopper work," and I like Hopper, but Nighthawks was a great painting, and everyone's just tried to copy it, and everyone tries to be Hopper, and then the different ones. So what I try and bring to the moment is, if you look at some of my work, I absolutely want you to feel like you were there. You could put yourself in that picture. You can drive by, you can sit on the stool, you can have a moment with your friends or buddies or family in any of my pictures. Say where they were. Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look. If somebody goes and looks at one of my pictures and then says, "I know where that is. Let's take a ride by. Let's go see what it looks like." And then they go like, "Oh, wow. There it is."
Yeah.
Then that's my style. That,
Cool.
whatever that is. If there's something I'm familiar with, I very much want to understand it. And I'm not afraid to try it and not have it be what I want, and then go back and retry it again and just keep doing it, if I believe I can do it. I knew that there was a shot there of those houses. They're different color houses, the reflection off the water. I don't want the leaves on the trees. It has to be. I didn't want the winter. I didn't want the snow. This is the time I wanted it. I wanted the water still like glass. I didn't want Ryan Road in the shot. I wanted the houses, the bridge, and the water. And I'm back and forth between backing up into the road and getting the railing of the bridge to really give perspective. So anyway, that's my process is I'll drive by it, I'll see it. I've got many that I'm working on right now. There's one of Main Street. I want to get up on the Smith College Hill by the gates there, which somebody has told me that there's a curse if you walk through the gates, which I've got to find out. Anyway,
Yeah,
so and if you walk right from the gates of Smith College, right down Main Street there, so I'm very interested in doing a night photography down there with the telephoto lens on a long exposure and get the ISO right so I can get the trail of some of the cars.
Yeah.
And again, this is a time of year I don't want a lot of leaves on the trees, and so I'm waiting for a warmer night. I almost did it 2 or 3 nights ago. So I guess to answer St. Mary's Church right there, it's closed up, and I go down there and I said there's a little wall right there as you go down there, and I sit there and I just look at the church, and it almost looks like it has eyes, and it's sad because it's had its life cycle and it's now aging, and what's around the bend for it I think is to the building ominous, because it's that thing that we all don't like in life. It's changing. Yeah. And I think if you sit there and look at that, I know I sound a little crazy here, but if you sit there and look at I knew the church in its heyday when it was the pillar of the community as far as the Catholic Church and all this, and now it's not. It's something different. I won't say what it is. It's something different, and it's transitioning. And can I capture that? Can I get the right exposure and the right sun, and without being melancholy or morbid about it, but I want to capture the moment. So I've taken many exposures of St. Mary's Church, and I'm going to keep working on that. The Main Street thing. There's some storefronts, restaurants especially, that I'm very happy. There is a window in Michelson Gallery, our Michelson Gallery. If you go up to the second floor and you go out back, go up to the top, go to the right, go out back into that room. It overlooks the parking garage, and everything's right there. But you look right out the window, and out that window is the Holyoke Mountain Range. The shot sitting in there, and I've actually taken people there. There's chairs there to sit and look at the artwork, and I've turned a chair around and I've had them sit there. And one of my son's girlfriends, and I had her wear a black felt hat because I just wanted to see her shoulder and the hat and a little bit of hair looking out the window as the sun set on the Holyoke Range. I think for me it's just wow, if you could just, as I stand there and I still don't have the right one. I've done it a couple times. I don't like it. I don't like the exposure, the focus, the whole thing. And I'll get it, but it's work. Some of these things literally, the center of Florence, I stopped the car, I got out of the car, I took the picture, I went home, I edited it. It took me 3 weeks to get it there. I would edit it, I wouldn't like it, it would overexpose. I didn't like the sun. The sun shined, it hit the way that one of the rays of sun, it hit a car and it created an aura, and I'm like, that's pretty, well, anyone knows how to take a picture. I should have had a filter. I should have, and so I guess I talked to myself. I talked to myself what would work. I talked myself into this. I talked myself out of it. And finally, you have to make a decision, and I decided to publish it on Facebook and that. And the same thing with the mountain, the Holyoke Mountain Range, and the art gallery, and all the talent is just for me to be in that position, looking at the mountain, thinking that Stone and all the different artists in town. Let's see now, as soon as I go to say names, they leave my head, right? But all the different, and our Michelson Gallery had or has every known artist in the Valley. Either they have had them in there, they're there now, or they will be there in the future. And to go upstairs and sit there and just try and create something in that venue, that moment, that nobody else has done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think that'll be some. When I get it, it'll be good. And I think a lot of the people that walk through that room, the thousands and thousands of people, will say, "Oh my God, I know exactly where that window is." As an artist, are we constantly trying to talk ourselves into going for perfection, knowing that perfection doesn't exist anywhere?
Yeah.
Somebody got the Pulitzer Prize, they did the shot, that one I got on Main Street with the lady in the leather at the rally, or protest, I don't know what you call it. I think that is one of my better pictures. And standing behind her, she's coming at me, and behind her, on her right shoulder, is a Tesla. And I just, the duality of who's ever in charge of the show is never lost on me, because I'm absolutely, and I'm not, there's no doubt in my mind at all that someone has a sense of humor.
Right.
Because that shot is directly out of 1973. I took it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And there's a Tesla in it. So I was sitting there, and I bring the, I put the chip in, and I open it up, and there it is, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, there's a lot going on there. A lot of people. There's the cars, and it was bigger than that. It was actually wider. I cropped it right past her because I wanted her. My subject, right? So immediately I start the process. Okay, so she's the subject, because it was not her. She was just somebody walking towards me. And then as I sat there, and I'm like, okay, let me think about this, right? So then the wheels start turning, right? And then I'm like, okay, it's going to be about her. And then I was doing again, I don't use AI, so. I'm doing the saturation and the focus and the contrast and all these different things. And I got it just the way I wanted. And I'm like, it's a lot of noise. And it's not wrong. It's a beautiful picture. It's a beautiful picture in color. It's an incredibly beautiful picture in color. But I wanted her.
Yeah.
I wanted her to come forward. And she had the leather vest on and the hat. And she just, if I had staged it, I couldn't have done it better. I would have moved her away from the Tesla. But, so I just turned the saturation all the way down to 0. There it was, black and white. It almost looks dimensional, that she's here and that the crowd's there, and there's distance between her and the crowd. And somebody's holding a sign, and the sign says, "Not normal." And of course the sign's facing that way, so it's backwards to the camera. You'd have to actually think about what is that person, what does that sign say? You'd have to start looking for the Easter eggs or whatever, there's a name for Easter eggs or something in the picture. And so as I sat there, and that sign that was, it's black and white now, came right out. So I'm like, that's it, right? So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you've ever put a piece of metal on something, taken it off, moved it around, tacked it, bent it. No, it's just not what I want. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to go with that. To pursue art, to want to be an artist, to want someone to say, I know Mikey's a photographer. I think that because I have respect for the position and respect for the profession. So as a profession and as a business and everything like that, I totally get the gravity of it. And that is nothing that I take lightly. But if I was, and I don't want to say like Rockwell and Hopper and all the different ones, and Annie Leibovitz and the landscape guy. Yosemite and him.
The heck, now how come I?
Yeah, right. Oh, come on. Yeah, and him. And every time I do a sunset or a sunrise, and yeah, so they're all in my head, but I really almost work at trying not to have them there
Yeah.
when I'm creating, because the feeling that I get when I create a moment, I don't know that they felt that way. I don't know that that's what they were trying to do. I think if you take enough photographs, the similarity between your photographs, and there's trillions of photographs out here, someone's going to make the comparison, whatever they are. In my mind, I'm influenced by all of them, and not one in particular drives my behavior. Well, always. Always, yeah, always. And especially since, well, okay, let's go back to I did not have a cell phone.
Yeah.
Before I didn't have a cell phone, I had a Pentax. And it was, manual focus and, well, I actually had a film. Everyone had a film. Well, we had the Polaroids. I mean, come on. I'm an older guy. We've been around for a while, so I've done the evolution of film throughout my life, right? But I had a Pentax, and I remember my oldest son. He's 44 now. When he got married, I went up his house in Deerfield, and him and his wife were there, and I was taking pictures of the bumblebees out front on a pink bush and all this, and trying to get the focus right. And that was with the Pentax, and that was going back. That was 20-something years ago. So it's. I remember in. Oh God, it was Turner's Falls. They have a Veterans Memorial there. And they do the individual flags, and they have the big granite piece in the front, and around behind it, it's on one of my, it's on my Facebook. It's one of my, and around behind it, and I was driving down the road, and I just pulled the car over, and Brenda goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I got to take a picture of that." She goes, "A picture of what?" Because these flags were behind it.
Yeah.
You know, and I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. And the way the sun goes, and if you, I beg you to go look at it when we're done here. The grass is growing up, almost touching the bottoms of the little flags, so you know their time is nigh.
Yeah.
And all the sacrifices that went into that.
Yeah.
Each one of those is a human. Anyway, the moment wasn't lost on me. And I remember just standing there, and I have people that I've worked with over the years that have actually bought that from me, and I'm going back 20-something years, and when I say bought it, $10.
Right.
Because that's what it cost me to have it printed. And it was only a little, 2 or 3 months ago, Timmy, I worked with him at Coca-Cola. He's down in Florida now, him and his wife and family, and he sent me a picture. It's hanging over his desk. He's got it framed over his desk, and it means a lot to him. You know, that's a hard question to answer, because for me, it's the evolution, exactly, you know, that's the right word, evolves, right?
Yeah.
Which means grow, and work, hard work, focus, time, energy, money, networking, understanding the business, understanding what I will need to do, me, to touch the part of the business that creates the possibility for me to continue doing this and do more of this, and almost not be afraid of it, that I have to embrace this part right here.
Yeah.
Because without this part, the part where I'm driving over the bridges and stuff, and I stop the car to get out and look at the water and stuff like that, those moments, because there'll be singular moments that only I have, which I enjoy, but I enjoy showing it and sharing it. So the evolution is to make it workable. So why doesn't everybody take these photos? They're busy.
Right. Yes.
You know, it starts in the morning with the kids at school, and then the job, and then, you know, relationship, wives, partners, dinners, food, clothing, baseball practice, by the time you get home at night and everything. I remember, the nuclear family, right? We all watched A Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. Do we do that anymore? Does anyone? I don't know. And I'm not making a value statement. I'm just saying there's so many hours in a day, so many minutes in a day, so many minutes in a day. When do we get the chance to stop and take a picture of the pretty pastel houses at the bottom of Ryan Road? Let's let Mike Denno do it. There I'm working on sports, right? To take the sports photo is not an easy thing because it's movement.
Yeah.
And the focus is always changing, and your depth of field to put the person, the subject matter of the subject in focus, moving through it, it's not an easy thing to do. I'm finding that out, and I'm working very, very hard at that, and I haven't conquered it yet. So it's, you say the baseball game, right? I want to get a picture of the ball and the bat.
Yeah.
Either just before or just after. I don't care which one. If I get either one, I'll be happy, right? And I want to do that. That's one of my goals. I guess people would say is very Hopper.
Yeah, that's cool. That came out really well.
And that was the precursor to the other one, because I did this, and this is very much mid-century, somebody was going to, and I was very happy with it. And then we're talking about the creative process and all that, and I found myself saying, oh, look it, and I got the art, this is all in the Easthampton page, and right over there, I did here.
The last time you were in here, you did that?
When I first came here, I did that, yeah. And I was trying to get people to, but I really think I've given you an insight into my kind of,
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think the picture is magically going to happen. I think if I'm going to do a picture that is, I don't even know the word special or view-worthy or whatever you want, I think you're going to have to work at it.
Yeah.
The one that I got on there with the mist over the water, honestly, over a year, maybe a year and a half, waiting for the, because how many times have we driven by that pond, everybody, and you've seen the mist on it, but the light wasn't right, or it was too dark, or it was too light, or...
So were you taking pictures, or were you just driving by and be like, that's not the right
No,
thing?
I always, yes, I just drive by myself, while it's, and I'll be like, that's close, but the sun's overhead, and it's just, and of course they always say don't take pictures between 11 or between 10 and 2, because everybody's a raccoon.
Yeah.
The sun is directly over your eyes, which is foolish because there's a lot of great pictures between 10 and 2. But that goes back to, if you listen to everybody, you don't do anything, right? Feelings. The feeling. You can't, okay, so what do we always chase in life, right? That euphoria.
Yeah.
The, the fix, the moment, right? Why do we drive cars fast? Why do we like the elevator when it first starts off and stops? Why do we do the things we do as a human condition? And when you take a picture and you're like, wow, I can't wait to get home and edit that. Yeah. I mean, you like Christmas is tomorrow, like tomorrow morning, and it's 10 o'clock at night and you got to go to bed. Probably one of the most anxious moments in everyone's life, believing in Santa Claus that some magical thing is going to happen tomorrow, and then transforming yourself into an adult and knowing that the magical moment still exists. It's in your computer, and you've got to sit down and see that transform from all this electronic data and stuff. You got to see it transform, and then again, they become like your children. They become not possessions, but part of you.
Yeah.
And you edit it and you bring it to life, and you like, wow. And then of course, like everything, you go too far, and it's like a mess, and you're like, oh my God. And you got to put it down and come back to it. And if somebody gave you, we're sitting right here right now, I've got $5 million, you got $7 million. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can't buy it.
Right.
Money has nothing to do with what I do.
Yeah.
What I do is unique to me, and how I feel about it is unique to me. I absolutely understand and believe that the people that are involved in similar venues absolutely do what we do for that feeling. Because it's not for the money. I don't know. How do you define it? Oh, right. I think when you're young, you probably define success as having a career where you make a good job and a lot of money and all these different things, you know, as we chase life. Mm-hmm. And since the world looks different from where you stand on the age mountain, I'm at the point of view that I need to leave. And I know this is so worn out. This is like, you know, world peace. If you know, I almost feel like I'm a debutante at a pageant, saying that I want world peace and I want hunger to end. But I really do believe I have something to bring forward.
Yeah.
And I've lost a lot of friends in the last, as I'm going to be 70 in less than 60 days. Being the mid-century, born in 55, I've lost a lot of friends in the last couple years. And I'm getting that feeling in my life. I got it as my family died off, and I lost family members, grandparents and great-grandparents, and as we age, my parents are gone. And as I realized, my world was shrinking. Not that the world was getting smaller, but my world, my part of it, Mike's part of it, was not the Teflon-coated, impermeable metal that I always had, that there was an off-ramp, and that, you know, as we all approach it. And that's interesting. And in the last 2 or 3 years, I've lost people that I went to high school with. I mean, friends.
Yeah.
We worked on cars. We drove cars fast. We burned rubber. We chased girls. We drank beer. All the things that define the American life, we did them with these people, and they're gone. So I can sit here and tell you about Charlie and Cindy and Chris and all the different people that I went to school with, or grew up with, or were so much a part of my quilt, and they're gone. So I really think that it's time for me, before I go, to do something that has gravity. And I really try and put it into my work. Happy. Just, or sad. Or sad, or I hope they feel. I hope they feel. I hope they feel. I hope they have a moment where they look at something that I did and have an emotion, and I don't really care what it is. That they have it is, for me, it's the thing. That rallied the thing 2 weeks ago in downtown Northampton, call it what you want. I put that on the different social media sites, and they all took it down, blocked me.
Oh, really?
They all blocked me, took away my access and everything. I've since got it back to all but one. But, and so I put it on my own. My own. And there were people that I know, I've grown up with, I was in the store, hey, Billy, Joe, how you doing? Mike, what's up? And wow. Wow. I mean, just public rudeness. And then other people were overjoyed. They're like, oh my God. And then of course they took off on that. The pendulum, right? The pendulum of the things. And I was glad. I was glad that I created the moment. When I post my stuff, and I put it up there, I think I actually put no title.
Yeah.
And I said, this is for me, and especially the woman there, And with the people that were, they had actually, like I say, it was so organic when I got there. And I had gone downtown to take pictures. I had no idea. I had no idea there was going to be and I looked, I have a pickup truck with a tonneau cover on the back, and I can get up on there and take pictures. And I put the tailgate down, and I got up on a tonneau cover, and I'm looking, and there's people in front of City Hall, and they're there, I think they're there every weekend, they're there all the time. And I'm looking, and there's 8 or 10 people over there, and I'm taking pictures of the crowd, right? And I'm like, okay. And stay out of Gaza or whatever, right? And I'm like, okay. And I'm looking around, and then there's more people coming and all. And like, there was a homeless person across the street on Smith Charities on the sidewalk. And out of nowhere, this lady comes, and she puts a hood up over her head. And she goes over there, and I got the telephoto, and I'm watching her. And she's checking on the person. And I wonder if she's, looking for a pulse. And she's got her hand on, I think it was a guy. She's got her hand on the person, I think, to feel him breathing, And I'm like, well, yeah. And I'm just watching it, and I'm like, I am so happy that I'm here in that moment watching that. And I'm like, this is powerful. And I'm taking pictures, right? I don't want to miss the moment. And I turn around and look, and there's 50 people there. And then I'm watching this, and then I see a cop down there, and he's directing traffic, and there's a trestle, the train thing there, and it's got that neat thing there. And I'm like, okay, I got a cop, and I got a thing, and that. So I'm focusing on that, and I turn around again. There's 100 people. And I'm like, okay, something's going on. For Christ's sakes, we'll pay attention, right? And you don't got to hit me, more than I guess 2 or 3 times, and all of a sudden I understand what's going on. And I'm looking, and there's literally people walking towards the center of King Street and Main Street. And I'm like, and here I am up on the back of my pickup truck, just watching this organic movement grow. And I'm like, well, this has got to be, about the different things that everyone's protesting on now. And it got to the point where it was just, it ended up stopping the traffic. All the intersections were closed and everything. And so I took all the shots I could, and I got down and I went into the crowd, and I'm like, okay, and there was a few people there, hey, Mike, and you're trying to search for the face in the crowd, and sometimes you can't do it. And I said, well, I think I've got some good work, and I went home. And I did the editing, and I put them on a different, and people were responding. And then they were PMing me, where'd your stuff go? Where did your work go? Where'd it go? So I put it on mine, and then I saw, all the emotion. And it was the whole pendulum. It was happy, sad, angry. There was one guy that I didn't know he was this religious or not. He said they were Satanists, and it just, wow, But if I hadn't done it, the 300 or 400 comments I got on it, would people have had those conversations?
And
my family.
Your family?
My family. I don't know. I just we're not quitters.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't quit.
Cool.
Yeah. We just don't quit. You're not defined by any one thing in your life.
Yeah.
You're defined at the end of the day by getting up, throwing the feet on the floor, going forward. I'm trying to reinvent myself now in this venue, and if I didn't believe that I came from a family that could do that, I wouldn't be able to do it.
All right. I like it. I think that's a good place to end.